CineBeards fans and listeners.
Hey, Thomas.
I'm in here. You can't say hi to me.
I did.
there.
I'm being polite. Hi, Jason. You see, Jason doesn't give me shit.
That's because I'm a garbage person made of garbage.
That's true.
But we're all bin juice.
Yes. But me more concentrated.
So, what are we talking about today, Jason?
Well, I'm slightly
us.
clairvoyant.
Jason.
And I can tell that this episode is going to be a little Dion heavy.
Hmm.
Because... No, not a little heavy Dion. A little Dion heavy.
You actually look a bit slim.
Aww, thank you, God.
Do you have like a parasite or something?
Right up there in the old brain.
Brain worm.
Tell her she looks thin. Are you suffering from... Do you have a parasite? You seem malnourished. I love you, Fry. Zoidberg.
So, yeah, why would it be Dion heavy?
Because today we're talking about horror. And more specifically,
Spooky.
this like recent upward resurgence of like horror and quality horror coming from Hollywood.
That sounds compelling.
Yes.
You guys should do an
is.
episode about
We should actually do an
We
episode
are,
about
you
it.
guys.
We're in it.
You're
It
in
was
it.
in. We were in it all along.
The episode came from inside the house.
See, Dion, the magic was never in you. It was in the episode all along.
Aww.
Right, onto the murders.
Onto the murders. Obviously, most recently, the highest like profile Hollywood horror release was Get Out.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say it.
It was the highest opening weekend.
Yeah, and most trailer views.
Most trailer views and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I think from
yeah.
from the critical
it was just
eye.
no, for sure. Like it was just like this. I think it was because it sort of dominated my landscape so heavily for a while.
And rightly so.
Yeah.
Last
Rightly
year, horror movies made $773 million.
Which
And
ones are the main outcomes? Do you have that
772 of
info?
those were it.
Yeah, it grossed a lot of money.
What did you say?
Are you talking in the US or internationally? Because that doesn't sound right.
That's you. There's no way that's international. I think it alone made more.
It might have
than
been
that.
the US only then.
Yeah, it's probably US only.
I didn't read the article too heavily. Just
Yeah.
skimmed it.
Skimmed it.
Yeah, it's probably in the US box office because that's pretty close to what it
Yeah,
made.
it worldwide it made 700 million.
Yeah.
Am I getting
pretty
my
good.
zeros right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you used
That's
words
seven.
instead of zeros.
That's 7 followed by at least 4 zeros.
At least.
No. 5.
Yeah. 5.
I said at least 4. Okay.
5 plus.
I'm giving myself some breathing room here.
Years of leeway.
Yeah, it was great. Get Out was great. It's a really good time. Good time to be a horror fan.
It is. It is
Even
indeed, and with,
even on the sort of more mainstream horror. I mean, we had Happy Death Day,
Which was
which was
cool.
a really pleasant surprise.
that was a pleasant surprise. I actually watched it on your recommendation.
Yeah,
I
so
enjoyed it.
If my wife enjoys a horror film,
then you know.
and I enjoy it as well, then that's like a magic thing that doesn't happen. That's like a unicorn movie.
I know you and I had a pretty good experience with it, despite the fact that it started off horribly.
Yeah.
Like the way it bonded us to the people around us.
Yeah.
Oh
it
yes,
was-
you
it
guys
was
had
one of
a
those-
whole
Yeah, it
situation.
took like
when
an
you watched
hour for the film to actually start screening right, and like it would start and the screen would be flashing on and off, which I at first thought was just like a stylistic choice, because it's like the opening, company screens coming up and like
Yeah.
they're sort of flickering on and off and like ooh,
Spooky.
ooh, you're really committing to this, and it's like, all right, it's going into the film now. I'm missing large establishing shots.
What's happening?
Yeah, it's not such a good choice. It's a cinema, and like the light in the projection room, blindingly bright light,
Just
that
on
was so
us and the people
directional
around us.
that it literally illuminated our 2 seats. Like I checked from the back
You
of
feel
the
like you're in the
cinema,
opening of Mr. Bean.
and then keep asking the staff to turn it off, and they're like, no, the projection. What do you say? The projectionist is in Johannesburg. They don't know where the light switch is.
Wow, light switches
Yeah.
are hard though, to be fair.
But to be fair, the positive of like bonding with the people around us was great for that, because it was a packed cinema.
Yeah, and you sort of got to know the people around you, and everyone's cracking jokes. And I think one of the things that can bug me in a horror film even though it shouldn't, because there's supposed to be sort of that sense of community. But sometimes people are they're just talking a little too much.
They're too obnoxious.
Yeah, and I think with this, you sort of felt bonded to everyone around you. So, like, when the people were screaming and laughing, it was cool. It was like a really good group atmosphere.
It wasn't like, oh, these strangers are ruining this movie. It's like, oh, my buddies.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they're reacting the same way I am.
Yeah.
When I went to go watch it on cinema, which was really surprising because clowns.
Yeah, Jason did have an good old nervous breakdown in that scene.
Clowns and puppets, and then there's a room full of clown puppets.
Hey, you know, like, I'm with you. I'm with you there. When I went to go watch it at Cavendish, which I thought was going to be a terrible idea, the Cavendish cinema had done this whole thing. They had people walking
that's
around
the wrong film.
in yellow rain.
Yeah.
They had people walking around in yellow raincoats with red balloons, and they were playing excerpts from the soundtrack over the house speakers, and they
that's
turned
cool.
the lights way down, and they had smoke machine. Like it was a whole.
Did they do like did they have the whole Dan Aykroyd tie-in song like?
Unfortunately,
Not like something strange in Derry, Maine. Who you gonna call?
Stephen King.
unfortunately,
Several children.
make sure they're pretty.
The local misfits.
But yeah, no, they didn't have that track. But they had a whole thing around it.
Now
which
imagine if
was
they had
really
done
cool.
that and there was actually a good cinema as well.
I know it felt really out of place that Cavendish was going above and beyond.
Yeah, but we
I
watched
think
we
it's
had that
because
special
Cavendish
IMAX.
is their most like localized clinical branch.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had that special IMAX screening. You could sort of see the resolution wasn't right, but it was still like, regardless, it was a really good time. The sound was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed the heck out of it. I've watched it twice since then. Really like it. I feel like, in retrospect, the one thing I would like to see in the sequel is slightly less CGI and slightly more just Pennywise.
more practical
Yeah,
effects.
Pennywise.
Because the practical effects with him were so good.
Yeah, he was so good, and I think the little, like, every now and then the CG gets a little distracting, and I can already see the parts that aren't gonna age well. But overall, like, enjoyed the hell out of it. Such good child acting.
But isn't the adult part, I'm not super familiar with it, isn't the adult part more focused on like the proper form of Pennywise?
Yeah, it does. I don't want to give anything away, but so close your ears. Yeah. Alien spider.
What?
Giant alien spider.
As old as the universe.
I'd be really surprised.
But I'm pretty
if I
sure,
hadn't.
like, they've still got the child actors in it, so I'm pretty sure there's gonna be like flashback stuff, and I'm pretty sure they'll still have like this Pennywise. I mean, that's also a big selling point. They'll probably save the spider for the end.
For the grand
Yeah,
finale.
for the big reveal and showdown, Act 3 stuff.
When the Space Marines pitch up.
Yeah, that's the one.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm doing my part.
I was just about to say that.
it was. Yeah, it's been a really good time. I still remember reflecting way back in, I think, 2003, 2004, something like that.
That's way back.
Yeah, where there was, I might be getting the year slightly wrong, but it was sort of that era, like, where there was Dawn of the Dead, and there was 28 Days Later.
Yeah,
like
2004-ish.
Yeah.
And
was on the money.
28 days later.
And just reflecting on, at that point, there were a couple of others, I can't remember offhand now, but I remember there being a few and feeling like, wow, there's this real sort of resurgence
Shaun of the Dead came out.
Resident
time.
Evil was around then as well, I think.
I don't think I counted that.
Yeah, that was around the
quality
time the first
horror. It felt like a really good time, and I thought, how long could this last? And it sort of it held pretty well,
yeah.
and then as it that as well, and then as it was diminishing slightly, there was the whole indie horror scene that took over, and I feel like we've been on a really good run for the last decade and a bit, just in terms of horror, and seeing that shift from like Hollywood horror down to like indie horror. I mean, you can just Google top 20 indie horror films and have yourself like a fantastic
And you'll get
time.
some really solid.
Kind of like we did.
Yeah, I mean, we would, and this is one of the great joys, I think, for me, like rediscovering that thrill of going into a film completely blind. just listening to it.
What an experience.
That's the thing with
that's like that
that's the thing
thriller
with horror
Hush.
movies, though. Like, nobody stops to listen. And that's where most of the problems come from.
Exactly.
Just
So
more,
I think
more communication skills leads to shorter horror films.
that for me was a big thing because I love trailers. I mean, we were big on our
Talk about the
trailers here.
trailers.
Love our trailers. But with horror films, I feel like once you've watched the trailer, it's like getting a preview of the punchline.
Yeah.
And horror movies are guilty of that more so than other genres of film because, man, what's going to stick in your mind? Little short excerpts or a big bang? Big bang's going to stick in your mind.
And also, what I've discovered that I never realized before I started doing this was that a lot of the tension disappears when you know the conceit.
Yes.
I watched Don't Breathe. And if you haven't watched it yet, just like mute me for the next 45 seconds.
Yeah, watch it right.
I went into that only knowing that it was directed by the dude that directed the Evil Dead reboot. So in my mind,
You were
there
expecting
was a
that kind of flashy,
supernatural.
gory...
No, I was expecting a supernatural element, like a possession, demon kind of thing. So these kids break into the house.
And there's a cult in the basement or
That's the
something.
thing, is like, and there's a locked door. And my immediate thought is there's something down, but like something sort of demonic, something evil.
That's what I thought too.
For a long time, that's where my head was. Only because I didn't know any better. And then after a while, it was like, oh wait, shit, the fucking Determinator from Avatar is actually the, antagonist, but is he the villain? Ooh,
Well, yeah,
It's
moral
morally
boundaries.
grey!
Yeah, but he's the source of fear.
Yes.
And I didn't see that coming. I thought it was going to be, because all I knew was Evil Dead Association. That was it. And I thought like, someone's going to get possessed, or there's going to be evil down there, and it's going to be released, and it's going to be, they're going to his life is devoted to keeping it in check.
Yeah,
or
he's
something.
the groundskeeper for this.
Just
big
other
bad.
film. I mean, when we watched Creep,
Yeah.
where you sit there and I realize if someone's told you Creep is a film about XYZ, you've already destroyed half the tension.
Absolutely.
Like, what kind of horror film am I watching? That's half the suspense. Is you're sitting there and you're like, oh shit, like, is this going to be a monster film, a cannibal film?
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's the cool.
Yeah,
what-
that's my favorite thing when Dion and I do our spooky weekends. When we get these horror movies and we go into them completely blind. We don't know where the threat in the movie is coming from or what like form it's gonna take.
What you're describing is exactly how I feel when I watched The Ritual a couple of weeks ago.
I still have not watched that. So
I'm
Okay.
not going to tell you again. Like, I'm still not going to tell you anything about
Okay,
it.
cool.
All I'm going to say is that what you were describing is what I felt while I
Yeah.
was watching the film.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what was going to happen, and as things happened,
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's
even,
definitely a big thing for.
even something as little as like the preview text on Netflix is, I found, too much.
really,
Yeah, I don't want to know.
Yeah, just go by the title and the like star rating as kind of a guideline. Although
should have
it's
an option
not...
to turn it off.
Honestly, for me, anything that's like 5.5 out of 10 up, I'll give a go.
Yeah.
You give it the benefit.
I'll give that a go. So I'll just Google, I'll pick a random year and I'll say top indie horror films 2014, and I'll just go through, pick one with a reasonable rating, check is it on Showmax, is it on Netflix, can I rent it, get hold of the damn thing, and just watch it. It's like, boom. 9 times out of 10, a good time. And
Yeah, we
often,
watched that Spanish one on Netflix a couple weekends back.
Veronica.
Veronica.
Yeah, which was not the greatest horror film, but because
We didn't know what was up.
I went into it completely and utterly like
Unawares.
blind, like just not knowing anything. I got more out of the film probably than the film warranted.
Okay.
Like, I don't think
Yeah, I think so, because like a lot of the steam was taken out. I know it was for me, and I think a little bit for you as well. After the reveal,
Yeah. But that's often the case with horror films,
Yeah.
and I think that for me the best part about horror films is those first 2 acts.
Where the
Always.
tension is just ratcheted
That's
right
what I love.
into
Yeah.
the base of your skull.
It's so rare for a horror film to sustain it.
But
into
that's
the
what,
third act.
But that's what a lot of recent, both big and indie horror movies have been doing really well lately.
They've been keeping that tension up.
They've been keeping that tension up. They've been keeping the mystery up. They haven't done the like big immediate reveal. Okay, this is the thing they're fighting. Now it's
fight
just
the
about
thing with
survival.
guns.
Yeah. Recent one, Split. That was such a pleasant surprise.
Split was a pleasant supplies.
Supplies.
Yeah, supplies.
Supplies, surprise, and
Candy
pies
bar
and
some
San
bread
Pellegrino.
mix.
Yeah, those ones. There were a couple that we've actually watched over the past like year and a half, 2 years, just going into it blind, where it's just
The Witch. Another
The Witch
one.
went into it blind. Boy,
Boy. Oh, which one was Boy again?
the one with the motel and just that kid, the really creepy kid.
I'm
You can
unfamiliar.
tell me more, you can just cut it out.
Yeah, but I don't know where enough.
Oh,
I'm unfamiliar. But
Okay,
you
cool.
recommend?
Yeah, it was pretty
I'll
good.
know
The-
it if I...
the boy freaked me out. The swimming pool thing at the vacant motel thingy. Yeah, and
Is there like a prom?
yes.
group?
It
Okay,
is
cool,
the
cool,
prom
yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
That
okay,
one.
So, yeah, The Boy was fantastic.
That one was pretty good.
again,
And I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if I went in knowing
Knowing.
the premise.
I think that's the thing, is more than any other film, like I've enjoyed comedies where friends have told me like half the jokes in advance, and I laugh when my friends tell it, and then I laugh when the professional comedian tells it, and it doesn't bug me.
I think it's because comedy doesn't experience the same diminishing returns.
Oh no,
Yeah.
definitely. Comedy experiences diminishing returns.
But
without a doubt.
No, but less
Yeah,
than
like
horror.
I can rewatch Talladega Nights 100 times, but I don't think I can say the same about any horror film. Like, and have the same level of enjoyment.
Yeah,
like my enjoyment of the horror
that's
film
true.
will mostly be academic. Like,
Yeah,
by the third
that-
viewing, whereas something like
Or almost
comedy
the second
film-
viewing, it's kind of
yeah. Well, I'm
lost
being
lots.
generous. I mean,
Yeah.
something like The Conjuring, I enjoyed, I think, a lot the second time. Again, that's one of those that loses a bit of steam in the third act, but.
Yeah, the second one as well had the same
I've
problem.
only watched the second one once, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I
that's
like the
when
stop
we went to go
motion.
see it in the cinema.
The Crooked
Yeah.
Man. That was
Yeah,
a
that
cool
was
Yeah,
cool.
that
sequence.
was cool.
Wasn't perfect, but I also liked that it took its time. That's another thing, is they're not afraid
Of taking their time.
taking their time. Like, that's what I liked about it. That's what I liked about Conjuring 2. It seems to be a thing where they're telling their story, they're taking their time, and they realize their strength lies in the suspense, in the build,
And
not
what-
in the payoff.
And what each individual person's mind conjures up.
Yeah.
Because people are always going to think what scares them the most. Whereas if you show them, okay, this is what I scare the most, it might not be what scares them the most, and then it's gone. You lose.
Yeah, you
the
lose that
impact.
connection.
But if you leave it
Usually-
a mystery, people are going to be like, oh crap, it's this thing that I'm most terrified of. I'm sure it is, isn't it?
As soon as you see the monster, 9 times out of 10, like, that's where the suspense dies, and it's like, it's almost perfunct, the
Yeah.
wrap up.
Yeah.
One of the only, the
It's-
most notable example of a film where that doesn't happen is Alien or Aliens, because the terrifying nature of the creature.
Aliens is more.
Aliens is more of an
Aliens
action,
is
but
actually-
Alien.
Alien, yeah, it's got the reveal and still keeps the tension up.
Yeah.
As you were saying, with the third act kind of loses stamina. I mean, it's like that, as you've pointed out to me many times with Stephen King's books.
Yeah. It's all about the journey, and I mean, I'm just the absolute biggest Stephen King fan, and I'll admit, a lot of his endings are just garbage. I was reading Cell, enjoyed the crap out of the book. About 30 pages from the end, like, I knew where it was going. It was just like, he feels the pressure, like, it has to have some kind of resolution.
It has to wrap up.
And I
somehow.
never even read the last 10 pages. It was just like,
Really?
this is just by the number. But I love the book. And it's just,
Yeah.
the endings are so rarely satisfying. Like, they're always,
Yeah.
I think because a story, and I think it's with his stuff, which is often bigger in scope, but just a general thing for horror as well, is, like, it's all about potential. It's all
Yeah,
about
yeah.
what could be lurking, what could happen, what could the conceit be. And I think once it's like, oh, okay, the monster is a manifestation of this, or the monster is this.
An
and
aspect
they
of that,
have
or-
and they've got this thing, and they're going to defeat it this way.
Because they've
Like-
got the magic MacGuffin and they know the rules of it.
Yeah. Then it's like, it's done. Then the whole thrill of a horror film is the unknown and the threat and your imagination running wild. And as soon as things sort of are cemented, and it's like, yeah, there's like a logic to, and you can see how, like, oh, okay, if they say these words while she's doing that, then this monster will be cast out. And then it's just a question of, will they do a little post credits like, "Whoa, the monster's still
but is it
around," or
all
not?
gone?
But we don't care.
No.
Yeah, and I think that was a problem for like quite a few years, like from when you said like the 2004, 2005 until a couple of years ago. Like that was the big problem with it.
Yeah, it was that formula of, and I think even, I mean, I love The Conjuring, but I mean that takes bad endings to a new height.
Yeah.
Wow, those endings are horrifying.
They're not
Unless they're playing the long game, and the because each Conjuring ending, it's like, it's the ending, it's like so just syrupy, sweet, and
Yeah.
cheesy,
Happy
and like, and you
Hollywood
wait for
ending.
something bad to happen, and it doesn't. So I wonder if they're playing the long game,
And they're waiting
and
for
for
you.
number 3, it's gonna be like the same
And then a
cheesy ending.
bus
and then,
just hits a child.
Child just explodes.
Child just explodes into nun ghosts.
Someone put a claymore on the child's head.
As I think it's almost impossible to just show a monster and have people be afraid of it.
Yeah, like
We've seen
Like-
it all
like
at this point.
Thomas says, that's Alien, and to kind of get that back.
Yeah, I mean, Alien isn't scary anymore.
Not for.
No, not in this day and age. In that
No,
movie it was, but now what it's
I mean, you can
become,
watch it
it's-
and you can enjoy it academically, and you can say like, "This is great."
There
and
are thrilling moments.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the first time you see the xenomorph like stretch out, it's genuinely unnerving.
yeah, but it's not
Scary though.
once you've watched it once or twice, and it's also like you're distracted by ways in which the film has aged
And
things
that
like
actress saying, "Oh God."
Yeah, you can enjoy it as like, this is a masterpiece,
Hmm.
but it's not something like that's viscerally gonna like.
You're gonna sit down. And
It's like it's like a classic rock band playing. It's like, right, this is sort of
This is
great, and they're
foundation
excellent.
stuff.
Yeah, this is some of the greatest music ever, but it's not stuff that like a 13-year-old today is gonna go like, holy shit.
It's not innovating.
Yeah,
It's not
Yeah.
pushing boundaries. It's not doing anything.
It pushed boundaries, and other
Yeah.
stuff has followed on from it, learned from it, and taken it further.
Yeah, so now it's at a point where it's like before those lessons.
Exactly.
So yeah, you can't just show something. I think some of the tensest moments I've had are the very real moments. I think you also say that where you have, what is the film we watched, The Babadook? Was that the one with the terrible child?
Yes.
Where
That's
you just have a
terrible
child that's just screaming. I mean, that's a nightmare. If you're a parent and that thing is your responsibility.
I've said it before and I'll say it again, being a single mother to a troubled child is my biggest fear.
Well, let's hope that.
I hope it never happens to you.
I use protection so I don't get pregnant.
That's important, man.
It's good.
important.
It's thinking ahead.
I'm glad you're staying safe.
So I mean that was terrifying, more so than a lot of the actual horror in the film.
Yeah,
Just like that fear and that hopelessness.
but
and
that's something the
stress.
Babadook did very well as well. I don't think it revealed like the Babadook, the monster, until way like maybe 10 minutes before the credits roll.
Yeah, because they know as soon as you do that,
It sucks the steam out.
yeah, it's not scary anymore.
Yeah.
There is a very distinct feeling that you get at the end of horror films. It's almost like a sense of, not disappointment, but it's like coming off a roller coaster or something. And like, where you're done with the roller coaster and there's like a long taxi back to like where you can get off.
Where it hits the speed, like the speed bump, and it slows down, and then goes.
Yeah, and you're still on the ride.
But the ride is over.
But the ride is over, and you're just sort of having to go through the motions of the ending.
Yeah, I think that works a lot for like one monster horror movies, like single threat horror movies, whereas things like with Silent Hill,
Yes.
it's
Silent Hill
especially the
specifically.
game,
Oh, boy.
it's not like, okay, we've seen the monster, that's it. Like, they routinely show you the monsters, but when you hear shit going bad, you're like, oh crap, what is it this time?
Yeah, you hear the radio crackle.
Well, yeah.
And
Because it's different and genuinely horrifying, unsettling things.
And I think
Unsettling
also when
beasts.
it's
So
a
every
video
time you're like,
game-
oh gosh, what is... Yeah.
When
The
it's a
video
video
game is
game,
what's
there's
going to get me.
There's that, yeah, there's a sense of agency as well. Like,
if I don't do
yourself,
this,
yeah.
my character will die.
That's not adhering to. That's got that sense of unpredictability.
Yeah, but
and I think
I'm speaking more
horror
about the
films-
reveal of the monsters that we were on. Whereas
Yeah.
if
Oh,
you've
I'm
got
talking
many
about, I'm just talking
varied...
about at the moment, the sort of the final, that feeling at the end of the third act.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that's a lot easier to
negate.
deal with if you've got a multitude of monsters.
Well, not just the multitude of monsters. If you eschew just a typical 3-act structure, because a 3-act structure by its very nature, like if you're adhering to that structure, and I think that's a problem with a lot of Hollywood films, is that they're scripted in terms of that structure. Whereas a game like Silent Hill, that's not really the case. There's an element of like unpredictability. You're sort of thrown into this world, and there's basically just 2 acts, like a short preamble,
Yeah.
and then the rest is
And
just
then the game.
uncertainty.
Yeah.
And you can't really do that with a film for a mass audience, I think.
No, I mean, Get Out was very good with that. Whereas, like, even after the whole big bad had been defeated, the threat is still there.
Yeah.
Because the threat was ever present.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not a physical threat. It's more of like a concept, really. So it's a lot easier to wrap it up like that, and it's why Get Out can wrap it up pretty well like that. Is because even after that like brief release, the tension is still there.
Because
Yeah.
of the horrifying reality of the entire circumstance.
Yeah, exactly. Like when his TSA friend shows up and you see the lights, you're like, oh shit. You're like, that's not salvation. That's
Yeah, that's more of the conspiracy.
Yeah.
not really conspiracy.
Well,
That's
not conspiracy.
just, you know,
That's just life.
yeah, that's just life coming for him.
What else I watched? I watched a really terrible one recently.
Yeah.
I think it was just called like The Monster or something like that.
Ooh,
Something like
spooky. The monster.
something like that. It's about a mother and her daughter on a road. It's a classic example. Yeah, it's a classic example of when the moment you show the monster,
the movie's over.
the movie's done.
I've not seen
It
this, and
is
I have no desire
done.
to see it after your.
Don't.
Don't
watch it.
Just watch it as a masterclass, because for the first half, I thought this could actually be something, because it's trying to do that social realism. It's trying to do the whole thing of, it's a, a mother who's quite neglectful of her daughter, and like she's just like a really bad mom, and the daughter's sort of trapped with her. And that's the anxiety, and they're
I
traveling
don't see
along
any room for metaphors there.
They're traveling
There's
along
none.
along
No,
the
I ain't
road
care.
at night, and there's like they hit a deer or something.
Yeah, it was a deer.
Yeah, and now they're stuck there, and they're waiting for a like a tow truck or something to come out and get them. And then there's just like an actual, literal monster.
It's a thing that lives in
Where
the
did
woods.
the deer go? That kind of thing. And it just wow. So you see a film that's sort of trying very hard to be serious and create some kind of metaphor or some kind, and then it's just, then the monster comes, and then the guy comes to help them, and the monster gets the guy that's gonna help them,
Oh my word.
Yeah.
and the little girl survives. What?
Because goodness wins
yeah,
the
no,
day.
that doesn't sound-
And the creature design is wholly uninspired as
Yeah,
well.
that's the thing. Is that just wrecked it completely.
That's
It's like they
actually
outsourced
one
the
thing
creature design.
I've noticed in recent horror movies, despite the fact that they themselves are tending towards the better quality. The monster design seems to have taken
Found
it
it
back.
wanting.
Yeah, because I think people are trying to focus more on okay, if this is the monster and this is a threat it presents, how would it realistically have developed to present this threat, rather than what's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Just make it a small child.
Everyone's
That's it, with
afraid
black
of
eyes.
children.
Just make it a small child with black eyes.
Make
you
it
don't
the,
need
make it the
anything else.
imposing implied threat. Something that has been nailing their creature designs. And I know they're not technically feature-length films, but they're the Oates productions.
Oh yes, I've not actually taken the time out to
creature
watch that.
designs in those Oates shorts is fucking phenomenal. Okay, for sure, the one in Zygote, which is my favorite one, it's just a xenomorph. It's not a xenomorph. It's just a necromorph. They kind of just took the necromorph idea
Okay.
and they just cranked it up to 13, and they were like, "Look at this fucking thing. This thing is horrifying. Oh my god!" And their creature designs in their other ones, Firebase and something, are also like really cool because you look at it and you look at the thing and you're like, man, that's cool.
I was actually just thinking of the thing, and that's one that actually survives better after the reveal of the monster.
It does because of the nature of the monster.
Yeah.
Again, having your monster create the situation that you can't escape from, and that's what the thing does.
Yeah, and that also is able to have a nicely wrapped up horror ending.
Yeah.
Because you're not quite sure.
Yeah, it just ends, spoiler, with Keith David and Kurt Russell just looking at each other, like,
Yeah.
not sure, and you as the audience are not sure, because throughout the film, it's done enough to make you think that maybe, at one point...
One of them's an android.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing is actually about androids.
In the deleted post-credit scene, Harrison Ford.
All right,
comes
then,
up.
Ridley Scott.
And he just shoots one of them. But then he goes and he consults his notes and he's like, wait.
And then he slowly puts the gun to the bottom of his head.
And then as he's about to shoot, he turns to the camera and goes, "I'm a replicant."
No, he goes, "Hail Hydra."
I think for me, one of the perfect horror, or very close to perfect horror films of the last few years, also went in completely, was It Follows.
Yes, A24. They
Yeah.
do some good work.
That is another one where the threat is ever present. Even
That's the
after
thing.
end.
The thing about what I love about It Follows, which is why for me it's just one of the perfect horror films, is that I don't give a shit about the discourse around it. Everyone's like, oh, it's a metaphor for AIDS. Like, no, you're an idiot.
No,
Just
shut
fuck
up.
off. You don't know how metaphors work. What I
Alright,
love
alright,
about
Goya.
it, what I love about it is that it's a puzzle in a sense. It's one of those what ifs. It's an inevitable thing. Like
Yeah.
anything that's inevitable is terrifying.
And that was what was made it so
and
cool.
that's the thing, it's like, what would you do? And you immediately like, well, I'd go into space. And it's like, but really now,
But
if
it could follow
today
you
this
in
happened,
space.
yeah, if today this happened, you wouldn't be able to fucking
How
go
would
into
you get into space?
How would you go into space? It's like, how would you realistically, and no one's going to believe you.
No.
So how would you realistically skip out on your whole life and stay on the run for the rest of your life?
Well, it can't cross water.
Yes, it can.
It can.
No, it did
It
not.
got out of the pool.
Yeah, it goes into water.
Okay, because she
It
went
goes
to
into
the
water.
coast because it didn't seem to enjoy the sea.
No. She went to the coast because then she thought. Remember, like she's
Oh,
not,
yeah.
like the whole point is that
They were
hypothesizing.
hypothesizing.
They also
at
thought
point.
that water would protect them, and then it fucking got into the pool. Remember,
Okay.
they shot it in the pool.
Yeah, they tried to electrocute
So-
it as
Yes,
well. And
yes,
stuff.
they
Yeah,
did. And then
yeah,
they started
yeah.
chucking the toasters at them.
Their thought is that if I'm with the sea to behind me, I can only get attacked from one direction.
Yes, that's right.
So, which is very wrong. So what I love about it is that opening scene where the girl's running and you don't know what the fuck's
You know
going
what's
on,
happening.
and she's driving off, which is basically what someone would do. And everyone that I've spoken to says, "Well, why did she stop on the beach?" The thing is, you're a human being. And I think that's the most realistic thing, is that you would eventually
Just
be
give
so
in.
exhausted.
You
Yeah,
would
you
just-
would just eventually.
humans only have so much fortitude.
Yeah,
Like,
and everyone sort of has this power fantasy where they're like, "Oh, I
I'd
would."
fight the monster.
Yeah, or I'd
beat him
go
in an
across the
arm
ocean. It's
wrestling.
like, no, you fucking wouldn't, and that thing would fight. There's a couple of scenes in there that still give me goosebumps, and I can't say that about a lot of films, just because it's so irrational, what's happening, and it's so inevitable. It's like, this thing that cannot possibly be real is real. Deal with it, and it's set very realistically. Like that scene where they're all on the beach and they're just
And they're
going
just
about their
palling
business,
around, and
then
then-
suddenly that girl's hair starts floating up.
Yeah.
Holy crap! And
Like,
the
yeah,
other scene when they're
yeah.
in the
Goosebumps.
house, and she's like, "It's here, it's
the
here."
door opens and
that
that tall
tall
dude
guy.
that still keeps me up at night. And that's the thing, is it's that mixed with the unconventional soundtrack, the Disaster Piece soundtrack, which is
Yeah.
fucking phenomenal. really good acting, and it's got a tight rule set. The Thing will come for you. If you sleep with someone, it'll go for them first.
But eventually,
and that's the thing, is you never know, and it's that exact thing, that thing of uncertainty. So at the end, when they're walking hand in hand, and you see a person walking up, that's how they're going to feel for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And that is so cool.
And the only solace that they have is that they have, and that's where it almost becomes like a metaphor for life, where death can basically come from anywhere.
But at least you have each other.
Yeah, their only solace is that they have another person, because it's established that people who, they can
can't
all
see
it, that they can all see it. If you pass it on to someone else, you can still see it.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is, regular
people can't. So now if you have two people who can see it, that's all they have. Is they just have each other, and they can sort of kind of watch each other's back, I guess. It's actually probably worse off, because if you had someone who hadn't...
Can you see that?
No, I can't.
That scene as well, where they take so long before they reveal the conceit, because a horror film is the suspense initially of what's the conceit. And this film takes forever to tell you, which is great. And then playing with the conceit, and then showing the monster. But you never see the monster.
No.
Because the monster's everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. All over again. And that scene in the cinema where the guy's just like, oh, her up there. Like, there's no one there.
There's no one there.
Yo, it's good. So I think for me, that's probably like top 3 best horror films of the last decade, just because it's so perfectly conceived. It never loses its tension. It keeps surprising you, and it's like just really interestingly shot, interestingly scored. Like, yeah.
That's actually probably one of the biggest things, is the score.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, I think, just an interesting story. I was watching Insidious 3 a while ago, and my wife was sleeping. So I was thinking, like, okay, I want to watch this movie on the subwoofer and everything. I don't want to sit with, wrangle head, like, through the PlayStation or whatever, like, how am I going to watch this? So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put it down for the jump scares. And I only missed one in the entire film. Because of the way the score works, because of the way the stings work, the build-up, all of that. These films have a rhythm that
lets them
down. I could reliably predict every single jump scare in that film, except one, which in fairness was a fucking loud one, because it's a car hitting somebody. So I missed the loudest one. That one genuinely caught me by surprise. Like, that fucked with me totally. But other than that, every single jump scare in a film built around jump scares I caught because of the score.
Yeah.
And that's
The
a
thing
big
is,
weakness.
Jump scares get a lot of flack. Like, people are like, oh, jump scares are the worst. That's cheap horror.
It's not, though.
But the thing is, jump scares done properly, like Dion was saying.
Yeah,
That, like,
you
when
can
you
predict
when you
can
break
predict
the
visually.
rhythm that
Yeah.
one time, it messes you. The thing is, on the one hand, it is to their detriment, but on the other hand, I feel we're also living in a good age where we have really, like, like It Follows, like really interesting, engrossing, original, terrifying horror films, but we also have Blumhouse films. We have a reliable source. It's like McDonald's. Okay, that's probably very unnecessarily negative.
You've got a formulaic thing that
You've got
is
something-
always going to be okay.
Low budget.
You know what you're gonna get, and there's actually something ironically comforting in it.
Yes.
Comforting in the familiarity of, like, I'm putting it on, like, ooh. It's like going on a roller coaster you've ridden before.
Let's call it steers.
Yeah.
Still affordable, but not of plastic quality.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know how I fucking hate steers, but okay. Let's say steers. Just the majority rules here, like, something like that where you go in, you order, you know what you're gonna get, it's gonna be pretty good, and it's just.
Spur?
Cool. So, yeah, Spur, yeah. And sometimes it's a bit better than other times. Sometimes your chips are cold. Sometimes your burger's particularly excellent. Like, wow, where did that come from? But overall, like, you know what you're getting. And I like that we're in an age where they've taken horror films and there is this almost inexhaustible supply of just exactly what I want. Every now and then I have that itch and I just want it scratched. and it's like they're just out there. There's just tons of them.
And Blumhouse is just there like, Sir's back scratcher.
I heard you requested some of our
fucking love
finest.
Blumhouse, like just absolutely, just because I don't love every film they've made.
No, but you never will.
But that's the thing but I just love that there's a company out there who's like, hey, people like horror films. They like these things about them. Let's make a whole bunch of them with just high enough budget that it doesn't feel cheap, but low enough that we can make a whole bunch of them and it's solid profit across the board.
So we can keep making them.
And we can just keep making them. And they've got some really good recurring actors. They've got some really good recurring directors. And yeah, they just...
And every now and again, they put out one movie that really is a solid 9 out of 10 or an 8
they'll
out
have
of 10.
something.
Get out.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that was a Blumhouse.
Exactly,
I
yeah.
can't
Right.
believe it. But I mean that you'll have something like Paranormal Activity. Now,
Yeah.
okay,
The
everyone's going to want to fight me.
sequels.
But in fairness,
no.
Paranormal Activity for me is like, it's a proper sort of mid-tier classic.
I
It's-
agree.
Because it's in the real world, that what freaks me out about those films more than anything is just when nothing's happening. I love that. When there's just absolutely, like, the camera's just panning in the kitchen.
And you're just waiting. But
and
nothing
you're
happens.
fucking waiting for something to happen. I love that. They don't have to do anything.
Yeah. And again, because your monster is invisible.
And the more they try to bring in... Oh, they try to bring in
The
lore.
The
That-
lore!
They try to explain it, and
That's
And
the
that's
worst.
what
Oh,
killed
as soon
it.
as you got,
As soon as you
into
got
the things
exposition
where
dumps.
you go to, like, there's a whole bunch of girls with
In the
black eyes.
ghost dimension.
Yeah.
Woo.
Oh, there was one that I thought was going to be so good.
is this one of the paranormal activities?
One of the more recent ones. Yeah, it was a total shift. The marked ones, possibly something like that.
Okay.
And for the first half, I thought, yes,
Damn it, we're
it's
back on track.
Back on track because it's a fresh setting. They got some cool actors. Like it just felt like real and grounded again. It's not like people that inexplicably never work and just have this massive house where for some reason there's always 2 families living and nobody works and they
Nobody
just carry
works.
cameras around. Like I mean that got super flimsy after a while.
Yeah.
But then unfortunately in the second half it's like, ooh, lore, let's go deeper into the lore.
Remember in the first film when you saw that one camera? You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's the but I think the first Paranormal Activity, huge slam dunk. The
Yeah.
Conjuring, huge slam dunk. Get Out, unknown indie film that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
Slam dunk.
Yeah, and the small independent ones as well, like It.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was it Blumhouse?
No.
No, I'm talking
No.
specifically about
Oh.
Blumhouse. So that's the thing is and Insidious. So they'll do a whole bunch of. They'll just churn out a whole bunch with pretty good quality control, and every now and then they'll just have a massive hit on their hands.
Was Sinister Blumhouse?
I think so.
It's definitely from that mold.
I like Sinister.
I'm
I
90% sure.
Yeah, you recommended Sinister to
I
me, and
really
ended up
I
liking
really
it.
enjoy
love that.
Sinister.
Just
I-
remind me again.
It's Ethan Hawke and he plays a true crime author and he's
Yes!
researching a murder and the thing comes alive in the
I
picture.
enjoyed
The
the
opening
shit out of
sequence of that with just dead silence and the
family
family getting
hanging.
hanged.
Jesus.
Holy, and
Christ.
it's a
That
good
was-
solid 3 minutes.
If you wanna freak me the fuck out, show me some old timey footage of people dying.
How
fucking damn.
And again, the sound design and
Yeah.
score in that movie was really unsettling
Jeez,
and
that scene where he
enjoyable.
runs in and his daughter is watching the video.
And all the things are on, and but yeah, I really enjoyed the score and the soundtrack. I think it was the strongest part of that film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Blumhouse isn't doing too bad. They started out with like 1 or 2 movies a year. Now they're putting out like upwards of 10.
Wow.
Wow.
Sin-
Good time for me.
Yeah.
Sinister was Blumhouse, by the way, their 6th
Yeah.
film that they put
Yeah,
out.
it's definitely in their wheelhouse right there.
Yeah, and they're also doing like interesting stuff. Like they've got their formulas and stuff like that, but like Unfriended,
Yeah.
the whole one that's done through like webcam thing.
as,
Isn't that-
as flawed as it was, I mean that's a worthwhile.
Was that the one that they shot here?
experiment.
I'm not
Or
sure.
did
What
they shoot the sequel
that
here?
just looked like it was shot in bedrooms.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, as flawed as the film was, I thought that was a really worthwhile experiment, and it's something you can do on a super low budget.
Yeah, it's like we want to do the Blair Witch or Paranormal Activity thing, but we want to give it a new spin.
Yeah.
And what's more
Just do the whole
relatable than
thing.
people in webcams?
And I think the way they just worked out the logistics of how we're going to do an entire film from this perspective, they did really, really well.
Yeah, shooting
Yeah.
it just is
Yeah.
a challenge.
Yeah,
so
it's definitely not as easy as just, yeah.
Yeah.
taping a camera and hoping
Blumhouse is
they-
definitely taking risks. It's why they're getting hit or miss, but it's
Yeah, but they're definitely hitting for me more than they're missing.
I think so.
And I enjoy that. Yeah, I love the crap out of Blumhouse. I don't know if I mentioned that.
You may
no.
have.
What
It's
what
just-
was
I
that?
think
What
it's-
was
I
that?
think it's a
Blumhouse.
thing-
Yeah,
it's,
Blumhouse?
it's the thing that I wanted when I was a teenager.
Do you think it's because horror movies are being treated more seriously?
I think, not necessarily more seriously, but I think they are finally being recognized for what they are, which is not a niche.
Yeah.
Everyone is afraid. Everyone likes, or most people like being scared. People go on roller coasters. Horror films are roller coasters, and some roller coasters are simple. And some roller coasters are like, there's no reason for roller coasters to be as over-engineered as they are, some of them. You
Some
know, like,
roller coasters, when you're sitting on them and you think you're about to go forward, you get shot backwards at
Yeah.
40 kilometers an hour.
and I mean, just like, why would someone with like an incredibly advanced engineering degree and years of
Make a-
experience, you know, hundreds of people contribute to making the silly thing, but it's because people want to pay money in exchange for good scares.
There's a market for it.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's the thing is, so if,
People like to face their mortality.
when there's money, and they realize that the best way to make it sustainable is to have a certain degree of quality, so that it's not just college students watching them, that it's actually like everyone. Then I think then you get the good. It's like the Marvel thing, just on a much
Yeah.
smaller scale, where like, oh hey, superhero films, if you treat them with respect, are sustainable. Therefore, we now have Anthony Hopkins.
We now have the license to get whoever we want.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can now get
exactly.
any filmmaker we want. We can get Oscar winners. We can get any actor or actress. We can get Glenn Close in a bit part. We can, you know,
We can do anything.
we can do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much, really.
Yeah, so, and I think it all stems from recognizing that if you treat the audience with respect and you sort of make a solid product, people will come back for more. And people, I think, more and more are learning to play the long game.
Yeah.
It's not the the pulpy,
It's not the pulpy horrors of the 80s and 90s.
yeah, where like the sort of the straight to home video kind
Yeah,
of thing.
like
It's
like
if we shoot
Dimension
this-
Extreme. And
if we shoot this for $10,000, we'll eventually make it back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if we put $10 million into this and we give it solid production values and good actors and some promotion, then we'll make back $100 million. Like, that's a much better proposition.
Way better return.
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Good time to be a horror fan.
And
I
that's
like
why
this.
I'm so excited for New Mutants.
Yeah, I'm glad New Mutants is
I'm-
pushing towards that
Yeah, I'm
full
so
horror.
glad that they are like the reshoot and the pushback date are annoying, but
Yeah.
the
But
fact
the thing
that
is,
they're
if
keeping
it
time,
takes that pushback date for them to polish it up,
Yeah, and make it a full-on horror, like,
then
take
take
my
your time.
money.
yeah, rather take your time and give me the complete finished product that you are happy with and that you want to give me,
And that you originally promised.
than rushing and getting it out as soon as possible and not moving your release date because, say, you want the executives to get their bonuses.
Yes.
Warner Brothers.
Hashtag Snyder Cut.
That's a terrible
That
hashtag
is actually-
that no one should
That
use.
is the most terrifying prospect.
Well, it's terrible on 3 levels, because one, like, the Snyder cut of the film. Second is that Zack Snyder is going to follow you around with a pair of scissors and just, like, snip at you. And the third is Zack Snyder being axed from the DC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be a scissors or if he goes around with like just a nice warm piece of paper.
Ooh.
And he just sneaks up behind you, just
On the back of your neck.
on the back of your ear, just
Oh, a cold piece of paper, like chilled.
Chilled for your pleasure.
Oh.
is Snyder Cut, and he disappears into the distance.
He just throws down a smoke bomb from his utility belt that he stole off the set.
But it's just full of guns.
porn magazines. Slide cut.
That's the true horror.
He's actually what follows.
That is horrifying.
Yeah. I think we've thoroughly explored what we enjoy about horror movies, what they're...
I feel like
Starting
watching
to
some
do
horror
right.
movies.
Oh, man, I really do.
Ooh, I feel like watching some horror films.
I'm looking forward to what's it, A Quiet Place.
Yes, which is
Yeah.
actually my recommendation.
Ha!
Ah,
Damn
Because,
you.
as of recording, I have not yet seen it, but I've heard pretty much only good things about it, and by the time this is released, I will have seen it.
nice.
So that is my recommendation, and also, obviously, fucking Infinity War comes out this week. Jesus.
Oh,
I might even be dead by the time this episode airs, just because of how
From
excited
sheer
I am.
hype, your heart will have exploded.
Yes. So those are my 2 recommendations this week.
What, have your heart
'Cause
explode from
just
hype?
in case you were wondering whether or not you should go see Infinity War. Fuck.
Good thing you pushed them over the edge. They
Yeah.
were undecided there.
Yes.
My
Because people listening to us are definitely undecided and don't know our opinions on Infinity War.
And also, they're not sure of how good it's gonna be.
yeah.
I mean, it's not like there's a track record for them.
Nah. Those Russos, untried and untested. I think, my recommendation, just another thing I watched recently, I've been catching up on some old films, was Return of the Cape Crusaders,
Wait, hey.
which I really enjoyed, like, even more than I expected to. And, yeah, I think you should, if you haven't checked it out, like, have some fun. Check it out.
Yeah, and you can learn yourself that there's nothing wrong with a campy Batman.
It's true.
Yeah.
You can do it.
It's
and
great.
It can be
it's
serious.
It's the most Batman-y Batman
That ever did
in
Batman.
a good old long time.
Alright, my recommendation, because by the time this is up, that it'll be out on DVD, is a film called We Are All Hostiles, or just Hostiles. And it is a Western film starring Christian Bale and the lady from Gone Girl.
Okay, I do like the last Western that I saw Christian Bale in, which was the remake 310 to Yuma.
Yeah, he's back in stunning form.
Nice, that sounds good. Hostiles, you said.
Hostiles.
Nice.
I'll check it out. Alright, Dion, plugs.
At Dion van Heerden 1.
Thomas.
At Totalitarian Tom.
Jason, that's me. Hi.
Plugs?
Plugs.
Plugs.
You can follow us at CineBeards on all the things, including iTunes. You can follow me at JMusicanth. And yeah, horror movies and crabbies.
Yeah.